What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another SMITE ranked Joust tier list. And today we have a little bit different one. As you saw before, I like doing these ones more in a classified, like, different type of video where I go over, warriors, guardians, as like tanks, mages, hunters, and then like assassins, for example. And then all their different roles, as some gods can go into like that tanky role, but are not necessarily a warrior or a guardian. For example, like Aphrodite, who's classified as a mage. And I like doing those videos more. And I did that one more as a way of, I haven't done that in a while, so I decided to just do it. But now with these tier lists, I'm gonna do it more often, maybe once every new patch or once every other patch, we'll see. But like I said, I want to do these more often. So here we are with 11.5. Recently there's been some decent changes to guardians and mages, specifically with the Curse Weaver item. They tried adding, I can't even remember the item name because it's duality. That's not that great of an item, at least as of right now. And then obviously, changes to Kuang, for example, who's a lot better. Vulcan, who can proc items. Bastet, who can proc items. So there's a lot of changes here that I think push these gods in a different direction. I think it's good to update. So unlike the other ones, this one's going to be pretty quickly, or I'm going to go through these pretty quick. Obviously, the people who come here to just look at the end can do that as well. But here we are. Let's go ahead and get into this. Remember, rank joust. So S, 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 A, B. So SS is banned, S is like busted, A is like really good, B is solid, C is niche, and D is bad. Pretty standard. So starting out with Achilles. Not really a surprise here. Very good in tank meta, very good not in tank meta. Does so much damage. Tanky, like can go over the tank stats with his, or the defense cap with his 2. Hits like an assassin. It's tanky like a warrior / guardian. Can kill tanks with the execute. I mean, what more can you ask for? Agni, I'm gonna go ahead and put him in. I'm gonna put him in top S. I don't think he's ban worthy, although in some certain circumstances he is. Very solid. Like really, like I could argue for SS. Does so much damage from far range. Counters a lot of gods like Thoth. Does so much fucking damage. AMC, I'm gonna put in S. Very solid, like not solid, sorry, like really good ability based hunter that can kind of go in other items as well. Puch, niche, not really his playstyle in Joust in general, and he's not really that great right now anyways. Amaterasu is an A. A lot of changes to Equinox. That patch recently happened to where she's not as good anymore just because of the Equinox, and that's just with AA warriors in general. But nothing really changed too with her. She's still a very good pick. Anhur, I think, is the best hunter right now. I haven't looked at this the recent win rates, but at some point I remember Anhur just was the best god hunter in the game. He just does so much damage early game to late game. I mean, he just scales so well. If you're really good with this god, you can literally carry yourself to GM. He's just that good of a god. A little bit harder to play. I can't play this god for shit, but super fucking good. Anubis, D, don't play him. He's bad. Kuang, specifically that tank is really good, so I'll put him in a solid area. Not a lot of people play him. Not a lot of people think he's good. I think in certain instances he is really good as that secondary tank, like assassin, where you go like hybrid, half items like defense, half items like magical power, like Cyclopean Ring, for example, which actually got buffed recently as well, so it's pretty good. Aphrodite, I put her in a very solid tank, super annoying with the healing. I mean, when you're out of combat, you just heal. Her ult is basically a beads Aegis for one of your teammates, and in Joust is a 3v3 setting. I mean, you're always going to get a lot of value out of that. Apollo is C, very niche. I don't think he's ever really good, except maybe like, in fact, I'm gonna put him in D. I don't think he's just good at all. Like, his ult is just kind of meaningless unless you want to go over and try to steal Bull Demon. But I mean, if you're the enemy team and you see Apollo, the first thing you're gonna think of, oh, he has a global ult. I mean, he's probably gonna go to Bull Demon at some point. Let's go do that. Let's go check, like, to make sure he's there or whatever. So Arachne is probably C. You can make her work. I've seen some pretty solid Arachne gamers, but you have to play her very specific. You have to build her tank like. You can't do first burst damage. She just doesn't work like that because there's so many, especially in the tank meta. She just gets run down and she can't do anything. You have to build her tanky, and you have to have a general playstyle with her. Like, baiting out people's you know, dashes, leaps, whatever, to try and blink in maybe or whatever and use your ult correctly. High skill ceiling in terms of Joust, because I've played with some Arachnes, not very good. Ares is S. I mean, he just does so much damage, so tanky, great at burning beads, so super, super solid. He's good in almost every team comps, every team comp, and he has a lot of counters that he can go up against. The one thing about him that makes him like probably around the S is that he's very stationary, but played with another tank or played at a high level, he can be very good. To the point where he's S. He's so broken, right? No, he's just like one of your top picks. Artemis, I think, is A. I already showcased this before. She's really good with that tank build. Not only that, I mean, she although she doesn't have a lot of mobility, she does, like, you know, dashes or whatever. She does have a CC immune ult. Her 2 gives her a lot of movement speed. She has a slow in her 3, and she has a trap in her 1 that can root them and cripple them. They changed her a lot, and beforehand she was probably D. With all those changes back in the day, I think it was like last season or maybe a season or 2 ago. I can't remember. I think it was last season where they changed her dramatically, and it made her so much better. So I think she's a solid A. Artio, I'm going to put as a solid A as well. I haven't tried her with Curse Weaver, but I've got to imagine she's fucking good with that. So I could probably put her a little bit higher. I don't think she's S, though. She's not really that great of a solo Guardian, whereas like Ares can be solo or double tank. I think she's really just a double tank Guardian, and that's kind of where she, you know, fits in. And she does a lot of fucking damage, but, you know, not that S caliber. Athena, always a solid pick. I mean, she's so good. She doesn't do a lot of damage. She does an okay amount of damage. You don't build her like that. So like Curse Weaver would not be built on her. You want cooldown and a lot of tank stats with her. She's mainly a setup god, and she thrives in the double backline meta. But I mean, she's still very good in the current meta, and that's why she's A. Atlas, fuck, do I put this? I'm gonna put him in SS. He's probably, I mean, with all the Guardians like Charon being pushed out a little bit more, which I'm gonna talk about, he's not as, I mean, he's just so much better because of all the other stuff that's going down. And so I think he's probably one of your SS bands. He's just that good, and he just does so much damage, everything like that. You know how he plays. Awilix niche, just because her ult, any type of god, I mean, you build her tanky, Gauntlet of Thebes, and then full damage, and then like if they have a Hou Yi on their team and you play a good Awilix, then you can play Awilix in that niche area. Baba Yaga, I'm gonna put in S. Another underrated god. I think not a lot of people play her. She can be kind of finicky, but she does so much damage and is so safe with the prophetic cloak, and so you can do so much with her. I still think she's S. Bacchus, I think, is S. Bacchus, I don't think will ever go below S, in my opinion. I mean, he just has so much mobility, knockup. Knockups are like the best CC in the game. A stun in his 3, anti-heal in his burp, an ult that does so much damage, and on top of that, the drunk effect, you cannot sleep on that. That thing is so annoying, and it disrupts you so well. He's just a very solid setup, like your go-to. Like, I'll never be upset if I see a Bacchus. Bakasura, niche. I've seen some tank Bacchus do some work, but it does require you to take, or it does require you to get your items online and you know, play at a high level, very similar to like an Arachne. So I put him in C. Bacche, I'm gonna put in mid, like solid. Like, he's just a solid god. Like, he just, I remember when people were banning him, I didn't even think he needed to be banned, and then he got nerfed. I'm like, all right, well, no one's ever playing this god. I don't think I've seen this god in the past like 3 patches at all, like once at all. He's just not very great, but I think he's like okay. Like, he can get stuff done. It's just that he's not that, he's just kind of mid, in my opinion. Baron's going right to S again. He can build tanky, he can build full damage, he does so much damage, and although he's not very mobile, his 3 is like a fucking 5-second stun. I can't tell you this more than enough times. His ult got recently buffed a couple patches ago. I think they gave him 50% mitigation or something similar to that. You really, generally speaking, build him a little bit tanky with a lot of damage, and he's like that pseudo guardian in that double tank team comp. Or you could go full damage. He does so much damage as well. CC immune ult, you know, healing, that gives you movement speed, so a lot of things you can do there. Bastet, I'm actually gonna put in high A. I don't think the changes made her all that crazy. I've seen some gameplay and it does a lot of damage and it feels so much nicer. I think she's obviously a lot better, but I don't think she's in that S category yet, like with an Agni or any of these gods up here. She's close. Maybe you can argue that she's an S, but I think she's probably in that A category. Makes her a lot more viable with her changes, do a lot more damage with the cat, or now procs items effects and stuff like that. But I still think that the double tank meta that we're still currently in, although I've been hearing that it's been changing a little bit. I haven't seen it, but I'd like to see something else about it. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of double squishy team comps, but not a lot. Just a little bit more, but we'll see how that goes around. But currently, still think it's a double tank meta, and Bastet just I don't think she thrives all that great into it. But she's still a lot better than what she once was. Bellona, I'm going to go ahead and put an A, very similar to Amaterasu. Equinox got nerfed, which means, you know, she's a little bit nerfed. On top, I forgot to say, ability-based warriors also got buffed. You know, gods like Hou Yi, I think Hurt got a buff. And I think a couple other, I can't remember if it was Tier, or I can't remember who, there was a lot of other warriors that got buffed, I remember that. With Blackthorn Hammer being buffed as well. I mean, you're like I said earlier, your AA warriors was right here before that meta. Now their items got buffed or nerfed a little bit. Your ability based warriors are still here, but they got buffed a little bit, so they're like a little bit higher, which means that Bellona is going to be still in that same spot. She's still very good, and you can build Equinoxes very solid, but not as good as she once was. Cabrakan in S as well. I mean, your best go-to CC. He does a decent amount of damage, but his setup is so disgusting. 1-2 combo sets up for anything, and then if you have any gods like an Agni, you can counter the fuck out of an Agni, force them to buy shell, and then with your ult, obviously. And I mean, he just does so much damage anyways. His 3 is on a negative cooldown anyway, so he's so good. Camazotz, I'm going to put into an A. Don't think he is that great of an assassin, very similar to Bastet. Doesn't do shit to tanks, in my opinion. Only run him into a double backline. If you're going to run him into a double tank, just be sure to buy a lot of pen and to hit your abilities, because it's going to be hard to do anything against them. Cerb, I think, is high A. He does so much fucking damage, and in like the right hands, he could be S tier. He has a very good passive for anti-heal. You know, if you go up against an Aphrodite, then you're sure to fucking buy or go into Cerberus and you can fuck her up, because if you don't know, Cerberus passive give him steals health from your team as well as anti-heal. So if you build like Tainted Steel, I mean, you can just shut down any type of healing. On top of that, super safe, CC immune ult, has so much damage in his 2 and his 1. His 2 does prot shred, 1 is a stun. If you can hit your stuns, I mean, you play this god every time and you get top damage. Soul the backline, which is crazy. So I put him in A. Kern, I think, is a little underrated, so I'm going to put him in A, but I still think there are a lot of other better hunters than him. But I still think he's a very solid hunter, very standard. Like, he doesn't have a CC immune ult, his 2, so that kind of ruins him a little bit. His 2 is very good, though. Now it's like it roots and it cripples. 3's, I mean, he's just a very standard hunter. So I think he's a little underrated, so I'm going to put him in A. Chalk, honestly, I think Chalk is S. Chalk is so fucking good, he doesn't die. I don't know if you guys remember, but Chalk got like 6 buffs in a row, and then they just stopped buffing him like after that. Like, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. Like, we need to make this god the easiest god in the game. Obviously, you just throw out your axe, make him just do so much fucking damage and have no cooldowns, and make him fucking just don't die. Just, I mean, yeah, let's make him even easier. And so I think he's S, and I don't think a lot of people play him enough because, I mean, I don't know, but he's so fucking good. Chang'e, I'm going to put in niche. She's just not good right now. Double tank. She just doesn't do much of anything. I love playing Chang'e too. In double squishy, I think she moves up to A because she can, you know, one-shot. Very similar to the Morgan. If you're going to play her, I think you just one-shot the backline. That's all you can do. Charon, once the king of Joust, I no longer think is. I think he's actually an S. I still think he's very fucking good. Don't think maybe he's not top of S. I think he's just, you know, a regular S player, or a god, and I think that's really still solid. I just think that ever since they nerfed him, and on top of the other gods being buffed, I think that pushed him down a little bit, not too much. Still a very good god. I still ban him here and there just because I just don't like playing against him. Safety aspect, damage, CC immune ult, tanky as hell, runs away, you know, everything that you would want in a guardian. The only downfall is he doesn't have like consistent setup or you know, peel like Cabrakan does. He has more damage, you know, shut down someone's ability with his 1 silence type of ability. Cryptus recently got a buff. I don't think she's an S god. I think she's top A. I could be convinced that she's S. If you don't know, she got CC immune ult in her 3. Whenever you press the button, she gets CC immune ult until she goes into her little whirlpool. Her ult became a lot less clunky, which is so much nicer. And then they had a little bit of other tweaks to her, making her a lot better. That was the biggest thing about her. Her 3 interruption was so fucking annoying. And then her ult being so clunky. And I don't think you use her ult specifically like you would like a Scylla ult, but I do think it's a lot easier to use, which makes her top of A in my opinion. Cherno, I think, is not that great. I'm gonna put him in. Nah, I'm gonna put him in B. I'm not gonna be disrespectful here. He's just like a middle of the road. Meh, why would you build him? He's got a global ult. Doesn't really fit well for Joust. Does a lot of damage. Works really well with crit. Don't really build crit in Joust. But you know, you can make him work. Chiron, I think, is probably top A. I could be convinced that he's S, but I mean, he's so safe, a lot of ability damage, and I mean, that's basically what you want as a hunter, especially an ability-based hunter. Kronos, I think, is B, mid. I mean, I'll put him in A because of the recent buffs to a lot of the mage ADCs. If you don't know, a lot of the mage ADCs got buffed with like what was the coin, or not the coin, I said it earlier, Cyclopean Ring. I think they buffed the they buffed the glyph for not Typhon's Fang, for the other I can't think of it. I don't know why I can't think of it. The one that gives you attack speed, and it also gives you Bancroft's Talon. Jesus Christ, Bancroft's Talon. That recently got buffed to where now I think the glyph makes it to where it benefits a lot of attack speed, auto attack speed mages, and I think that probably pushes them up a little bit, especially with Cyclopean Ring. But still, you know, still very solid. I could be convinced he's in B, but Kleena, I just don't think is good. I'll put her in C. She just doesn't do anything all that great. You hide in walls, whatever. Cthulhu, I think, is probably SS, man. He does so much fucking damage. I mean, what else? He fucking Curse Weaver recently buffed him even more. If you haven't seen my Cthulhu video, I suggest you do, just so you can see at the beginning of the clip how much you heal. I don't know if it's a bug or anything with Curse Weaver, but like, you do damage with it based on, it's a percent damage. Curse Weaver does 5% of your maximum health and mana as magical damage. That doesn't mean you're doing 5% damage to the enemy team or the enemy god. It means you're converting your maximum health and maximum mana by 5% into magical damage, which can still be mitigated by defense and damage mitigation by the enemy team. And so, you know, they can mitigate the damage that you normally would have if you took a percentage of your max health and mana. And so, you know, if you would normally do 200 damage based on how much mana and health you have, they can still mitigate it by how much defense they have. So they could bring it down to, like, I don't know, arbitrary number like 79 or some shit. And that's how much damage you do. But you would actually heal based on what I've seen. I have to look at it again. You heal based on the damage that you were supposed to do before they get mitigated by the damage that they've done. So if you did 200 damage, but it was mitigated by their defenses, and it brought that damage number down to 79, that's how much damage you would do, but you'd still heal for about 200 health. So I don't know if that's a bug or maybe I looked at it wrong, but that's how it seemed to be when I played it. It's pretty fucking good even in its current state. Cucullin, I think, is S now. Don't think he's ban worthy, but I mean, he got buffed in everything. His 2, his ult, or his passive got buffed where it's 1 second shorter. I mean, Blackthorn Hammer is disgusting on these gods too, so his early game's even better. And you know, Cucullin, if you play him a lot, you know his early game is his best part of the game. What else? I think they buffed something. They buffed something else in his kit. I think in his 1 he now in his beast form, in his 1 he has a longer stun duration, root duration, sorry. Which makes him so much. I think it was A before. Now with these changes, along with some of the items that they buffed, I think he's S. Cupid, I think middle of the road. His ult's pretty good. Is a solid getaway. Healing is nice. 1 does a little bit of damage, but I think there are better hunters. Daji is niche. If you want to counter against like a Thoth or a god that doesn't have CC immunity, then you play Daji. Danza. I think is probably barely A, and that's just because you can go tank Danza and Joust. It's all about tanks, and I think that's what makes him a little bit better. You can make him, you can go any build and he's still pretty solid, but in that tank Danza build, I think he does a lot more there. I think Discordia is S. She's still very good. She does so much damage. It's very safe. CC immune ult. Anything you want, everything you want in a mage. Erlang, I think, is a little bit less disgusting with the Equinox changes. I think he's an A still. And like I said earlier, very similar to the ability based and like Bellona and Amaterasu. He's put down a little bit, but still very solid. ESET, I still think is S. Not a lot of people play ESET, but ESET's so fucking good. You play her damage or tank, preferably tank, but either way, she's still S in both of those roles. You get a fucking silence in her 3, and you get a shield. You get a consistent stun in her 2. Her 1 is knock-up immune, does a fuck ton of damage, and then you have an ult that gives you fucking damage mitigation. I don't know what else that gives you damage, fucking healing, you know, all the extra shit that a fucking Guardian would give you. So you're always so safe, and I think she's still S. Fafnir is SS ban. I knew he was already disgusting beforehand. Now he procs item effects, and if you've seen, that's not like the greatest build on him, but you know, just having that ability to have that fucking thing. On top of that, he got buffed. He actually de-transforms a little bit sooner, which, I mean, he was always in that de-transform spot for like fucking 5 minutes, it felt like, but he's so much more better, and then you can build more options with him, so like he can build a lot more items. Not that you would always build those items, but I still think he just does so much fucking damage. You fit it in a Cyclopean ring and an Axe of Animosity, even though you don't need to, and he's already busted, it makes him even, you know, more utility. So, you know, like a double tank, if you go Fafnir and like a Cthulhu and like an Anhur or some shit, oh my god, and you build like that fucking Axe of Animosity and Cyclopean ring, Jesus. Fenrir, I think, is just mid. I don't think he's that great. He just doesn't, I mean, he's a very good tank, but mainly like a damagey tank. But like, I don't know, he just doesn't feel that great right now. I feel like there's a lot of Guardians and everything else that can counter him. He has to try and like backline the enemy. I mean, if he goes up against a tank, he's not gonna do shit against a tank. He's mainly like that, like assassin, but a lot more of a bruiser than like other assassins you'd build him. He'd be way more tanky, like Glad Shield, Genji's Gauntlet, and then like, you know, serrated into like a fucking Heartseeker or some shit like that. But he just doesn't do that much, I don't feel. Freya, I think, is A. I mean, the changes to Cyclopean Ring, AA warriors or AA mages are a lot better. I think she's an A. Ganesha will always be S in my opinion. I don't think he's ever gonna go anywhere either. Just your solid frontline traditional type Guardian. Does a lot of damage too. People sleep on his damage and his ult. And his 3 has a great setup. 1, 2. Silence. There's a lot of counters. Like Ganesh can actually counter gods like Horus and Nesha, if you guys don't know. Geb, I think, is S. Does a lot of damage. Another traditional Guardian. Blink ult. Have your 3 that cleanses stuff. You can cleanse like a Fenrir ult, for example. So good. Gilgamesh is an A. Again, very similar to Erlang. I mean, they don't see, the thing is that I think that a lot of these AA warriors don't really change a lot from last tier list, just because I think they're really good. Maybe I should get like an A+ tier, because they're probably an A+ tier beforehand. Now they're just like A. It doesn't nerf them to the point where they're like they're bad. They're still very good, but ability based warriors are a lot better. Guan, I think, is an A now. I think I put him in B. He's definitely high A. I still think he's an underrated god. Obviously, other better warriors than him, but I mean, they recently buffed his mana pool, so like early game doesn't feel as bad. But he was always a very solid Guardian in my opinion. Hachiman, I think, is SS. I mean, he got nerfed recently, but I still think he's just so safe, does so much damage. Ever since they changed his kit back in the day, I think last season, he's just so much better. And so I think he's just always going to be your safe hunter that you go to. I could be convinced that he's S, but he's one of these two. Hades is just bad. Don't play him. He gets too close to the enemy. He gets shut down so easily. Anti-heal, just shut him down for free. And even that tanky state that I say that you should build him in, like a Gauntlet of Thieves or like a Spirit Robe or some shit, or a what's that name called? Spirit Robe, a Mantle of Discord. Like, he's just doesn't do shit, man. He's so bad. Hebo's niche, I don't think he's really that good at all. He bursts down, and then a tank meta you can't really burst. He's very squishy too. You kind of have to one-shot, wait till late game. Early game, he just doesn't do shit. Heimdall, I'll put in B. He's high skill ceiling, so you know, was it high risk, high reward? If you can play him like a beast, then he's like S tier, but he's very hard to play. Hell, I think probably C. She's not really good. I think she's niche because, I mean, you really only build her for a specific team. You don't build her as that damage like mage. You build her like, whenever I see her, I'm like, all right, what are they cooking up here? They must have something planned with this hell pick. And it's like, usually if we go up against a high, or usually they'll, you know, you'll go a hell if you go up against a team with a lot of CC, so you can use your 2 to cleanse them. So let's say you have like a fucking, what are some god, like a Ares ult and like a Medusa ult. Let's say you go Ares and Medusa. I mean, you have hell to cleanse them if they need be, but that's really it. So that's why she's kind of niche. Hera recently got a buff. I still think she's mid, but you know, she's a little bit better, so I probably put her high B. Maybe can be convinced that she's A, but she is a lot better in my opinion. Herc, I think, is S. Herc is super good right now. I mean, Herc was already like a solid god anyways, but I think he got buffed. And that Blackthorn Hammer you guys are sleeping on, that item is still so good. It's a lot better, obviously, because it got buffed. But Herc got buffed. Pseudo Guardian, but a lot of displacement, so you know, you root them up and throw them back to your team. I think he thrives a lot more in a double tank team comp with a mage or a hunter that doesn't, you know, require a lot of like specifically setting up abilities. I played a Yu Huang with fucking Hercules and a Kuzumbo, and the amount of displacement they had, I couldn't hit shit because they would just keep throwing the enemy back and forth. So you want to play the Herc with a specific team comp that doesn't, you know, require like skill shots that require, you know, like a consistent CC, like Cabrakan, for example. Horus, I still think is S. Very good setup, man. I mean, he does so much damage, so safe. Ult that can take you anywhere. Maybe it's just people don't play him, and then on top of that, people don't know how to play him that well. That makes him, you know, I just think he's so easy. You just, you know, hold your 3, use your combo. You know, if you miss your combo, then 3 away. But if you 3 and you don't have your 3 up, and then you use your combo, then you're in a little bit of a bad situation. You can't go anywhere, but you still even have your ult. So it's like, I don't know. I think he's a very easy god to play, and does so much damage and has great setup. Hou Yi is another S ban. I don't think he's ever gonna. I mean, they kept buffing him in Conquest. His Ricochet, so you can like one shot with that now. So he's still SS. Hun Batz, I think, is A. Very good god. I mean, his ult is the best in the game. Does so much damage. Has a crazy outplay potential. Can build hybrid and still do a lot of fucking damage. And is very safe with his 1 and his 3. So I mean, what more can you ask for like an assassin? Ishtar, I think Ishtar is, I think she's okay. I think she's middle of the road. Like, she can do things in Joust, not the craziest things, but you know, she can do things and make it work. But other than that, most of the other hunters are better. Ishel, I think, is S. You can build her tanky. You can build her like a damage dealer. She's a lot of CC, healing, CC immune ult. Can get out pretty quickly with her 3, which makes you faster. I mean, one of the best mages still. Izanami, I think, is niche. I mean, I don't know why you ever play her. Super easy to track down. Doesn't bring anything to the table, in my opinion, that other hunters have. He's just bad. Yanis is also niche. You can make him work, so I'll put him in the B, but you have to obviously have a high skill ceiling. Can't just keep throwing out your 1s willy-nilly, because you need to go away. You need to teleport away. I mean, portal away, not teleport. Portal away. I mean, if you have your ults up, you can be more, you know, crazy about it. But I mean, if you have, you know, max, I mean, you have to play him correctly. You have to play him at a high skill ceiling. He has a high skill ceiling. You have to play him at a high level to make him work. Otherwise, most other mages are just better. Jing Wei, I think she has some potential in Joust. She basically is that god where you get to 20 and you win the game. So as long as you can play her specifically to get to that level 20, not troll too hard, even though her passive doesn't allow her to. I mean, you troll with Jing Wei, you just go back to wave and get that same wave, at least early game. So you can't really troll early game. But she's still a hyper carry at the end. Jormungandr, I think he's S. I'd say he's S. The changes to him made it to where you have a lot more options, very similar to Fafnir. I could be convinced high A, but I think Jormungandr is very good in this meta, specifically as that damage tank. Not as like your main tank as like your, you know, peel setup, but very good as your damage tank. Kali, I think, is niche. Doesn't do anything until late game. Or if you play her with a specific team comp in mind, then maybe you can do it, and that's why she's in niche. Late game, you win the game. That's all I can say. Kefri, bad, no damage. ult. CC's lackluster. I mean, you grab someone and you can still get attacked, so not very good. Very interruptible. Bad. King Arthur niche, unless you're playing a specific team, like you with King Arthur, he can get shut down so easily. He doesn't fry like he would in Conquest in a solo lane, as it's like a 1v1 type setting, and then eventually into like a 5v5 where he can do so much around him, but there's so much, you know, double tank lockdown that he just gets disrupted. A lot of tanks like Artio can fuck him, and Artio is going to fuck him the entire game if you play her. Cuckoo is always going to be S, man. I mean, they nerfed him a little bit, haven't touched him in a recent bit, but still, you 3 the wave, and that's it. And he's actually pretty good with Curse Weaver, as it gives you more mana, and allows you to do more damage. Imagine, you know, going Poly, Curse Weaver, having those fucking yellow numbies pop up is crazy. Kumba's super niche. I almost want to put him in bad. Does not that great damage. You can do damage with him, not that great though. CC kind of fucks him a little bit, especially if you're going up against, you know, with your another Guardian that has like a little bit of CC. I mean, it gives the enemy team so many diminishing return stacks, which can be a double-edged sword if you think about it. Doesn't do a lot of damage and it's kind of over CC. Too much CC. Kuzenbo, I think, is S. I don't think he's SS anymore. I don't know, maybe other Guardians got better. I'm not specifically knowing why. I mean, obviously, if you don't want to go up against them, he can be super annoying. But like, every time I see a Kuzenbo, I just say, all right, that's fine. I'll just play Vulcan, and I'll just win because he can't get to me. So like, there's a lot of there's a lot of gods that can counter him. Hunters still, if you're gonna go a Hunter AA team comp, then you probably should ban Kuzenbo because he's very good against those. But definitely not that invincible Guardian like he once was. Lancelot's super underrated. I think he's A. I think last tier list I put him down a little bit, but I think he's resurged a little bit better because a little bit more because he's basically an ability-based warrior. He plays like a warrior, and he just feels like a warrior, but he's technically an assassin. But you know, with Blackthorn, ability-based warriors being a lot better, I think it makes him push up in the middle a little bit more, makes him have a little bit more impact. Loki, I think, is niche. Obviously, if you're a cracked out Loki, you can make things work, but a general Loki is not going to do that great. You have to build him tanky, and then you have to build like other items, you know, like Blackthorn to make him a little bit better. You can't really one-shot as Loki until maybe late game if you're going to build him like that. If you build him one-shottable, then you're just going to lose most likely. Mom and Brigitte has the worst win rate in the game, so don't play her. She's super bad. She doesn't do anything for you. I mean, she gets caught out. You 3 into an enemy team. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter because you're close to them, and now your double tanks are on you, so you're just fucked. But yeah, there's a reason why she has one of the worst win rates in Joust, so don't play her. Marty, I think, very similar to that AMC. Safer than AMC. Probably doesn't do as much consistent and easy tick damage as AMC, which I think, you know, they have their differences, but I still think they're very much S tier. Super safe. I mean, they're better Chirons, and that's why he's an A, because they just do what Chiron does, but better. Marticarus just has a CC immune ult that throws him in the air for 5 to fucking 6 seconds. And then has, you know, his fucking bushes to where you make you invisible, you know, movement speed a lot higher. He does so much damage. Maui, I think, is a little bit better. I still think he's in that B category, but he is a little bit better because of those recent changes, so I can maybe see an A. And I'll put him in A. Fuck it. He does a little bit more damage, and has more consistent with his 1, and his ult cooldowns are a lot higher, which means you can throw out your ults a lot more. His 2, I think, recently got buffed, and his passive got buffed. So I put him in A. Medusa, I think, is S tier. Does so much damage. Has that ability-based damage build that you can go. I haven't tried duality on her, but I think duality might be really good on her if you try it. Still not a great item in my opinion, but you know, like the Crusher, Jotun's Trans, what is that item called? Gives you crit. Thailnot's really good on her, Heartseeker, you know, anything like that. You can build her AA based too, auto attack based as well, so she's a lot of you know, utility and items and changes. Widespread array of items, if you will. Merc is not that great, obviously. I can put him in B or C. I'll put him in B because he can actually kind of do something as tank. Tank Merc is actually not that troll. You just got to get it online. A lot of CC in his 3 and his ult can go across the map. And then if you build him, you can get like Kins online, you start getting Berserker Shield, Shoguns, and you can start doing things with Merc. Merlin, I think, is A, but once he gets into that like late game, I think he's SS. But that's neither here nor there. You have to get there. I think he recently got buffed. Not that crazy much of a buff, but I think it just doesn't really change much of him, is what I'm saying. So I think he's that late game hyper carry. You got to get your tablet stacks online, otherwise you lose the game type of god. Morgan Le Fay, I think, is always going to be S. Still very good, does a lot of damage. Super annoying. Mulan, I think, is S too. You'll see a lot of these ability-based warriors start to come up in this meta, and that's just because, you know, Blackthorn, she does so much damage. She recently got buffed. I forgot about that. In her 3, you can actually now move your 3 instead of being locked into one place. Her ult doesn't require you to hit someone to proc all of the extra effects of her ult. And I think she's just that much better. Neja, SS, craziest CC in the world, setup, does what he wants. Fuck him. Neath, I think, is A little bit like less better, like it's like a Walmart version of Medusa, yet still very good. She can still do a lot of damage. I don't think she's as safe as Medusa. It's just a little bit different kit, but like similarly, you build her ability based, and you know that's how you do as much damage as you can. AA is troll, but you know a lot of buffs Neath had gotten in the past, I think she's still very solid. Nemesis is just mid, not really that great. Can do things, but I think she's better in that backline team comp. Nike, I think, is top A, almost S, and that's just because, you know, all the changes to her. All the changes to ability-based warriors make her a lot better. Blackthorn, shit like that. Not as much as like Mulan or Wukong because she didn't have specific changes. I don't remember. If I remember, I mean. Nox, C, you build her like a tank, otherwise she's dog shit. Nuwa got a little bit of a buff. I think she's B. She can now proc items, item effects with her 2, with her minion clay dolls or whatever the fuck they're called, clay minions, and she can actually, I think she can proc every single minion. I think every single minion has a different proc, so I think you can proc things 3 times. So like Soul Gem's gonna be nutty on her, and other things like that. You know, Soul Reaver just getting constant procs is going to be really good. That's why I moved her up 1 tier. Still not very good. Don't get me wrong. She's still not very good, but she's a lot better. Not, I think, is C. She's just too high skill ceiling to make her work. Bringing her back to that specific location like kind of kills her. If you could actually move your ult to where, you know, you throw down your ult and you wouldn't transport back to that location, I think she'd be a lot better. But really, I think she's just niche. Every other hunter is better in my opinion. Odin, I still think, is S. I mean, they nerfed him a little bit, but ability-based warriors are still very good. I can maybe see an SS ban category for him, so he's like high S. Like he's one of your best warriors in Joust right now. Just does so much. I mean, he counters a lot of the best fucking mages like Vulcan. Like Vulcan gets destroyed by Odin. Oleron. I've been seeing Oleron a lot more, and I've been testing him out. He feels a lot better. I'm gonna put him top A. I can actually see him being an S. But I think Oleron's a lot better. I mean, if you haven't seen, he got buffed. His passive, his 1 got buffed, and then I can't remember if there's anything else, but Cyclopean Ring got buffed. Bancroft's talent got buffed, so I think I'll with AA mages being a lot better now, on top of the fact that Oleron himself got buffed, I think this makes Oleron very, very good and can substitute for a lot of those hunters. Osiris, I think he fell down. I just think he's just A. I mean, whenever I see Osiris, I just pick Vulcan. I mean, Osiris can't do anything to a Vulcan. He just gets displaced. Unless you're going the straight damage ability based, which you really should. You shouldn't be going like the auto attack based. If you're going up against like a Vulcan or somebody who has a lot of potential to just run away from you and not get locked down. He just, I don't know. He just doesn't feel as great as he used to. Still very good god. You can still do a lot of shit with him, and I can maybe see someone argue an S for him. I just don't think he's as good. And that's just obviously because of what I said earlier with the ability-based warriors and AA warriors. Pele, I think, is niche. You build her tank, otherwise she's not that good. And when I mean by tank, I mean like hybrid. Like you want like a gauntlet and then maybe like Soul Eater damage, stuff like that. Jotuns, you know, Erendite, shit like that. But even then, you're basically like a You just one-shot somebody and then die. That's how Pele plays, and she's not that good. She's not good with that in Joust specifically. Persephone I think is going to be S2. I mean, these are your mages. These are your top mages. Super safe, so annoying with her plants. Ult is crazy. I don't think she's SS, of course, because she has a lot of counters. Poseidon I think is probably still B. I think Poseidon's B. He's an ult bot. If you play around his ult correctly, he just doesn't do anything. Duomorb did get buffed, so I think he's a little bit better, but outside of that, I don't think he really does anything that great. Ra, similarly, nothing really changed for him. I mean, you set him up with Neja if you have that. I mean, but I don't know why you wouldn't just go Cuckoo at that point. Rajan, I think, is a pretty solid mage. I think he's probably top A. Can argue an S. So much damage. I played with a couple Rajans before. I'm like, damn, this fucking guy does a lot of fucking damage still. And, you know, his ult, CC immunal, super safe. Even with his changes to his passive to where, like, you know, he doesn't get as many cooldowns from using abilities and autos, he still gets a lot of cooldowns. So I'd say top A, maybe S. Rama, I think, is a very above average god. Hit your autos, though. Very auto-centric hunter. Obviously, other hunters do better things than he does, though. Can bait out a lot of things, though. I mean, you can dash in, and, you know, your enemy team can be like, oh, get this Rama. He's going to kill him. He just dashed in. Wait a couple seconds, and then as you're getting shut down, or you guys are getting collided on, maybe people are using their ults. You just use your ult, pop up in the air, stay there for a couple seconds, use all of your ticks at the last second, come back down, and your 3 should be up, and you can 3 away. It also gives you enough time for your enemies to, or for your allies to come in to, you know, bail you out. So he has a lot of potential, but still think other hunters do it better. Rat, I think, is just middle of the road. You know, he's a global ult, but other than that, I mean, he's kind of predictable. You can't really do much of anything. Very similar to like a Fenrir. Ravana, dude. Ravana, I almost want to put an S. But Ravana is top A, I think. I can maybe see him in S. Obviously, he was a warrior beforehand, so that's kind of why he plays like warrior. But like, the amount of mitigations you can get with this guy, with especially with what's the fuck? What is the item called? Hold on. Sigil. Warding Sigil. With this recently being buffed to where you can buy this on Guardians, which is, you know, another reason why Guardians are a lot better too, because you can build this. And it's a very good item because it got buffed too. It was already a good item beforehand, but you build this on Ravana, especially like the other one, I can't remember what it's called, the exploding one, Infused Sigil. Oh my god, you do so much damage. It's actually insane. And you can build him so tanky. You build him with Prophetic Cloak, and you build like other fucking items with a cooldown, you know, Pridwin, shit like that. He just doesn't fucking die because of his passive and his 2. I mean, he's so safe with it too. So I almost want to put him in S because he does so much damage, not only to your squishies, but the tanks as well. He does so much damage to them too. So I'm gonna put him top A. I almost want to put him in S. And I'm gonna put him in S. Fuck it. I'm gonna put him in low S. Fuck you guys. No, I'm kidding. I think he's just that good. I'm gonna start playing him more, make a video on him or something, because he's so good. Scylla, I think, is high A. She's been resurging in the meta a little bit. She does a fuck ton of damage. Traditionally very good into the double backline because she can one-shot them. But even still, I think she's always just like a solid mage. Sercat, I think, is top A. Almost want to put her in S as well. I mean, I've been talking about her so much, like, ever since I started this channel. She's always been, like, in my opinion, a solid assassin type tank warrior-esque, you know, guardian, because she has so much CC as well, and does so much damage and has so much mobility. And in fact, I'm gonna put her in S. Fuck it, because she also, I forgot, got buffed in her 3. I think it's her 3 where she leaps. She got even more range, so she's even more safe than she once was. I'm gonna put her in S because you can build her like a tank, do so much damage, and then run away. There's a lot of setup as well, and she's so good. Set, I'm gonna put in A. I mean, doesn't do that much against tanks. So I almost want to put him in B, but he's probably low A. Kills squishy's nice, but you know, you have to play him specifically in a specific way to make him work. Shiva going right to S, does so much damage. I mean, fuck. Every time I go into a game and I'm like, all right, well, this game kind of, you know, they're picking this. My team is picking this. My enemies are picking this. I don't really know what to pick here, but I need to go a warrior or a guardian. And fuck it, I'll play Shiva because he just has so much damage, so much CC, so safe. I mean, you can't go wrong with Shiva. So I think very similar to how Horus plays. You want to play him like that, but I think he even does more damage than Horus. Scotty recently got a buff with her dog, so I'll put her in B, but traditionally she'd be in C. She got a little bit of a buff. I think her dog can proc items, which makes her a little bit better, but not significantly. Sobek, I'm going to put in S. So tanky, you hit your plucks, I mean, you're goated. So has a lot of anti-heal damage, safety, and it still had that recent changes to where she can actually go. He can go under walls now too, so you guys don't remember. Soul, I think, is a little bit better. I think she's probably low A now, just because of the changes to all AA mages. Sun Wukong, S tier, does so much damage, plays like an assassin, and is so safe. He can just kill the backline. If he doesn't kill the backline, he kills the front line, because you just build Runeforge on him, and he just does so much damage. I haven't tried Blackthorn on him, but with gods that build Runeforge, even still to this, even after they buffed it, I still think it's better to go Runeforge, because you do more damage overall with that, with specific gods with lockdown. Now you can go like a Blackthorn into a Runeforge, and you're still semi-tanky, but I still think you're not as tanky and as good as, you know, min-maxing all of your defenses with your damage and, you know, passive utility. I think it's still better to go Runeforge on those guys that have more proc ability. Surtur, I think, is probably B. Nothing really changes with him. He's still not that good. Susano, probably niche as well. Specifically to like kill the backline maybe and be safe, but he still just doesn't do much of anything. Sylvanas, you're getting down to the gods that don't really need a lot of explanation here. Not very good, kind of bad. One of the worst guardians. Easy lockdown on himself, and you know it requires him. You have to play him at a really high level. Terra, I think, is A, probably high A. I mean, she's still always been that very good traditional. Does a lot of damage, traditional guardian too, so she can fit that role as well. But I think a lot of other guardians do it better. Thanatos, probably a niche. He just doesn't do much of anything. I mean, if you watched my last tournament, you saw that Thana got destroyed. He just doesn't do much of anything. You want to build him tanky, and even if you build him tanky, he's still doesn't do much of anything. Morgan, probably niche as well. You have to be a disgusting Morgan to make her work. And I've seen some disgusting Morgans, but you have to play her at such a high level. She's not a good mage. You have to kill the backline, and especially when you're going up against, because she kills the backline nicely. But when you only have one backline, you have two guardians in front of you, it's going to be a lot harder. So she's a lot better than that double backline. If it was a double backline meta, I put her in B. Thor, I think, is top A, almost S. Tank Thor does so much damage. 2-1 somebody with the tank build, and you just half hit the squishies. I mean, come on. You build a Runeforge on him, and he just does so much damage anyways. Thoth, do I have to really make myself clear about this one? I mean, Thoth is always just your go-to mage. If you're, you know, trio stack, maybe Thoth is like an S, but I mean, Thoth does so much damage from such a farm range. Does what the fuck he wants. Your best mage. Tiamat, I think, is probably, I think he's she. It's a she. I think she's probably S. With double tank meta being a thing, I think she does really well with tablet with book, and she, you know, Curse Weaver as well, E-Staff, you know, Soul Reaver, all that shit, just to kill tanks. Tsukuyomi's a little bit better, but I think he's still in B. I mean, nothing much really to be said about him. Can be shut down pretty easily. Tier B as well. I mean, you kind of have to play him like a fucking like assassin. Like you're in the jungle, you just ult over, blink over to try and kill the backline. Nothing great. Uller, I think, is now an SS ban. I think he's just better overall. I mean, I want to put him in S, but I think he's just too good right now and just too stupid. If you can hit his abilities, play him every time. Very similar to Anhur, and you can go to GM. But Mana, I think, is A, very similar to like your other AA warriors. He has a lot of other counterplay potentials, but nothing really much here. Similar or different than others. Vulcan is SS. I mean, what more can I say? I've been playing this god every single game. I'm 12-1. I keep saying I'm undefeated, but I'm 12-1 on both accounts, and most of them are solo queues. That's the thing. I solo queue with Vulcan, and I just win the game. I do top damage, do so much fucking damage, and I just don't ever die. I think Vulcan's actually better. I think Vulcan is the best mage right now, better than Thoth right now. So if you've seen my last Vulcan video, you'll know why. X-Ball, I think, is high A. Late game, I think he's the best god in the game in terms of your hunter, because he just fucking shreds with his ult, but you had to get there. I think other gods are safer, other hunters are safer. Jing Chen, I think, is top S, can maybe argue SS. So much damage with Curse Weaver. In fact, I'm gonna put him in SS. I think he's an SS Guardian. With the Curse Weaver changes, you can actually build this on him, and it's so much fucking damage. Because if you don't know, Jing Chen gets just health in his passive, and increased max health, and you just add a Curse Weaver where you don't die anyways. It makes him disgusting. He can overcap his HP 5 and shit like that. So yeah, Jing Chen is definitely SS. Yamoja is D. I think the other god that has the worst win rate. Super high skill ceiling god, one of the highest skill ceilings in the game. So most people aren't going to play that high. Ymir, B, is a very solid guardian, but not crazy. Doesn't bring too much to the table. You have to play him perfectly. And if you don't, you get out of position and die. Kuang, I think, is A. Pretty solid mage. I think he's a little bit underrated, which is why I put him in A. But obviously does other mages do what he does better. All right, last up, let me switch this again. Last up, we have Zeus. Not good either. I think he had a couple changes earlier, and Doom Orb's better on him now, but still pretty much dog water. And then Zhang Kui probably around your B. He can kind of go those AA with Cyclopean Ring, the build that you know, the AA build on the mages, but still nothing really changes much with him either. So this is your tier list. Some notable changes being Fafnir, Uller. I think Vulcan is a lot better now. Jing Chen's up there. Cthulhu's up there. I mean, most of these you would think are S tier anyways, but are ban worthy in general anyways. But a couple of these weren't here for my tier list. Cucullin's up here. Charon actually was SS, remember that. Herc is up here. A lot of the ability-based warriors are up here now that you know. Mulan, Ravana, although that's not a warrior, it's basically a warrior though. A lot of your AA gods kind of moved down a little bit with Osiris, Erlang, you know, still very good, but you know, and obviously Lancelot's up a little bit. And then, you know, there's some changes here, like, you know, New Wall changes make her a little bit better. And as if for everything else, most of this hasn't really changed for the dog water tiers. But, oops. Yeah, this is your season 11.5 ranked joust tier list. I'm going to be doing these more often, like I said. Probably do 11.6, 11.7, one or the other, or both. And then we'll go from there. Let me know if you like these types of tier lists, or would you rather me go back to the quick and easy, but, you know, differentiated by class, where I make 4 videos going over, you know, tanks, hunters, and mages, and assassins like that? Or would you just rather it like really quickly here? Would you like me to go quicker? Would you like me to go a little bit, you know, shorten it down, more in depth? I mean, I feel like I've done these so much in depth anyways that I feel like we can do these a little bit much shorter. But tell me if you guys like if you like the tier lists after every new patch, because I think what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna make this tier list like 11.6. I'm gonna go off this tier list and I'm gonna just move things down instead of, you know, doing a whole new tier list. I'm gonna update it by what this tier list is right now for 11.6, see if there's any changes, and then, you know, make a video on that as well. That should be like a 15-minute video, so it should actually be pretty quick. So but for future, let me know what you guys think. But yeah, that's basically everything. Like, comment, subscribe. I have memberships open if you would like to support me. That's one of the best ways to do so. Discord in the description down below. We just had a tournament. If you guys want to be up to date with tournament news, we're planning on doing these monthly. They're going to be subsidized by you guys, though, this time with, you know, being first to sub, or not first to sub, but being a sub, and going from there. You have to be a sub to join tournaments for future events. But join the Discord. We have games, cool community, access to tournaments in the future. And yeah, but with that being said, thank you guys for watching.